Man, what is good, YouTube? In today's video, I'm going to be breaking down some of the fighters in the UFC that are the most trash but good UFC fighters. Basically, a lot of fighters on this list, they either don't look good at all while they're fighting, but they still end up winning, or they look great like a championship level fighter and then they somehow lose. Starting off this list of some of the best trash fighters, we got Magny. I was trying to find it. I couldn't find exactly how long he's been ranked, but I know it's been forever. It's been over like 5 years. You can watch him on the feet. He doesn't look like he's better than half of the unranked fighters. And then same thing with the grappling. He has like decent grappling, but it's really not even that great. He does do a good job though. He doesn't really get hit clean a lot. He uses the clinch a lot. And also, he puts up like a high pace, and then he just somehow finds a way to win. He always finds a way to beat a fighter that's just not way better skilled. Like Gilbert Burns dominated, submitted him on the ground. We got Shavkat. He dominated him on the ground. He was hurting him and submitted him. Ian Gary was keeping his distance, destroying his legs, not letting him get him to the ground or the clinch. But then he will fight someone like Daniel Rodriguez. He submitted Daniel Rodriguez. He beat Robbie Lawler in 2020. He was getting dominated by Mike Malott, who was on like a 3-fight win streak and like all finishes. He was getting dominated by him, somehow won in the 3rd round by just having the better gas tank, which he basically just reversed position and then was landing punches on Mike Malott's guard when he was completely gassed and got the win. He was versing Phil Rowe, who was on like a 3 or 4 win streak. He ended up beating him. It was a split decision. It was just a clinch fight the whole time. And as bad as he might seem, he's been in the rankings forever, and he's still beating some up-and-comers, and I don't understand it half the time, but it's Magny, bro. Next on this list, Michael Chandler. We could just break down his whole UFC career. His first one, great fight. He went out there, dropped Dan Hooker, TKO'd him in the first round under, like, I'm pretty sure it was, like, under a minute, maybe just outside a minute. His next fight, championship fight, they put him against Charles. Charles goes out there, he gets on his back, but Michael Chandler just jumps backwards, and then he somehow ends up getting it. He hurts Charles at the end of round 1. And then the round 2 starts within like the first 10 seconds. Charles drops him, finds him on the cage, starts getting shots off, and then Michael Chandler gets finished. He loses that. The next fight, he goes out there. He's versing Gaethje, has a great round 1. Second round, he gets clipped. He loses that round. And then the 3rd round, he was actually not even doing that bad. And then he just decided to keep his hands down, walking forward with Justin Gaethje throwing punches at his face, even though he was eating them. It was actually a pretty close round up until then. He was just letting Justin Gaethje hit him. He might have been able to do something to steal the round, but then he didn't. And then you got the Poirier fight. There was an illegal headbutt, but he was piecing up, and he was like beating the shit out of Poirier for the first round. The whole first round, and then like at the last like 10 seconds, I'm pretty sure he's walking down, hands down. He gets clipped because he just didn't want to be smart and get the win. And then the second round, he takes down Poirier. And then we get into the 3rd round. He didn't have much in the whole round. He goes to take down Poirier. Poirier does a good job of catching Michael Chandler's foot so he can't take his back. And then he ends up taking Michael Chandler's back and ends up finishing him. Michael Chandler seems like he could just control people on the ground. Like, I get it. He's trying to have a fun fight, which is good. So I ain't mad at it. The way he fights, I could definitely see Conor KOing him because I don't think he's going to go out there and grapple and hold down Conor. And he's just not good on the feet defensively. Okay, next person, we got Ryan Spann. Ryan Spann makes no sense to me. I swear, he goes out there sometimes. He looks like he could be the next big thing at light heavyweight. But then he has fights like Anthony Smith. Nearly has him finished in the first round, but he just doesn't go for the finish. Anthony Smith ends up getting a split decision against him. Fight before that, he was versing Nikita Krylov. That was basically a grappling match. He had slick submission skills, but he almost locked in a couple submissions. He had Krylov. Krylov was on his back, and then he just throws his head in there and gets stuck into a triangle. It was like one of the worst things I've seen. He probably could have just got it back up to the feet, but it was like a really intense, good grappling match, but he just throws his head into a triangle. Don't know what he was thinking. I picked against him that fight, though, which I was happy about. He had 2 fights before that. KO'd Dominic Reyes with a jab, and then he had Cutelaba, submitted him in the first round. That was good. But then he's taking on Anthony Smith. He gets dropped twice badly, and then submitted by Anthony Smith. He had a KO before that fight, though. And then the fight before that, he got 2 knockdowns on Johnny Walker, and then he was on like a takedown. Johnny Walker was spamming elbows. Ryan Spann got knocked out. And then fight before that, I ain't gonna lie, this is all I pretty much had to say for him, but he went to a split decision against Sam Alvey. Sam Alvey, bro. A split decision against Sam Alvey. Sam Alvey, I'm pretty sure he got out of the UFC because he had like 7, 8 back-to-back losses. I'm pretty sure he has the record. Tony Ferguson might have just tied it. But to be fair, he had a lot of split decisions in there, and everybody loves Sam Alvey. But still, like, come on, bro. What are you doing, Spann? Next up, we got Drew Dober. Drew Dober, he does have slick boxing, but he relies way too much on his power and chin. A lot of fights, he's just getting pieced off, finds a KO. Like the Bobby Green fight, he was getting beat up badly. Like, I'm pretty sure the first round was almost a 10-8. That's how bad Bobby Green was beating him up, just keeping the distance, piecing him up while he's talking to him. And then Drew Dober got him backed up on the cage. He started letting punches go, found the shot, put Bobby Green to sleep. He was versing T-Rex McKinney. Terrence McKinney, he was beating him up right off the bat. Dropped him in the first 10 seconds. Went out there, dropped him again. He was beating the crap out of Dober. To be fair, he completely gassed himself out going for the finish. Drew Dober survived, landed a knee to his chest, fought him to the ground, got a TKO win, and then he won that fight. He got a KO over Ricky Glenn in the first round. That's cool. And then also, he was versing Matt Ravola, the fight before Ricky Glenn. He was just walking forward, trying to have like a fight in the night type of fight. Matt Ravola was landing bombs on him, and finally his chin did not hold up. Ravola sat him down and got some ground and pound off and finished him. He actually might have been able to keep going, but he was taking a beating. Wasn't a bad finish at all. And then also he had a fight against Manny Moicano. Manny Moicano went out there, took him down, dominated him, submitted him. Same thing happened with Dariush. Dariush took him down, submitted him. Islam took him down, submitted him. Good grapplers get him out there on the ground. I like Drew Dober, but he had to be on here. But next up, we got Jaylen Turner. I mean, Jaylen Turner, I might have been able to leave him off this, but I felt like putting him on. He is only 14-6. When he's about to fight, he seems like he's an up-and-coming, like, I don't know, like undefeated, or maybe just like a 10-1 type of fighter. But he's really 14. Wait, no, he's like 14-8, not 14. Yeah, he's only 14-8, which is crazy. He did take some losses early. He got KO'd by Luque, dominated on the ground by Favola. But then he went out there. He got 5 back-to-back finishes. And then he went against Gamrot. Gamrot went out there, split decision. He could have went his way. That's not bad at all. But then he had the Hooker fight. Should have won that one. But then he ended up losing just because Hooker was tougher. Went out there. Nice KO against Bobby Green. And then he does a walk-off KO against Moicano. Moicano takes him down and just ground and pound finishes him while he's covering up and gets him out of there. Jaylen Turner, I like him. Definitely a good fighter. Maybe would have been able to leave him off, but he is 14-8. He just doesn't seem like a 14-8 type of fighter. So that's why I put him on here. Good fighter, but someone like Hooker and Moicano, I think he should have went out there and beat them both, but he didn't. So that's the big reason why he's on this list. Still a good fighter, but he's 14-8. Okay, Paul Craig, bro. Paul Craig is not good on the feet. He's not really good at getting takedowns either. Most of the time it's on the ground as if he gets taken down, pulls guard, or if he gets knocked down. But Paul Craig, man, he somehow finds the way to win. He doesn't have a good chin at all. Like, he went out there, he got dominated by Brendan Allen, got dominated by Johnny Walker. A lot of his fights, he's just dominating or losing and finds a win. And even though he is not good, but he somehow has wins. He gave Ankalaev his only loss. He gave Jamal Hill his first loss. Like, come on, bro, look at these names. He beat Ankalaev. He beat Jamal Hill. He also beat Nikita Krylov. And also those fights, like, Ankalaev was dominating him. That was a last-second submission. And then also he submitted Jamal Hill, first round, pretty good. And then the Krylov fight, he's getting beat up from stack guard. He was getting hit on the feet. But he was kind of laying there just like letting him hit him on the face so he could set up a triangle, which he did find it, so he ended up winning. But Paul Craig, if he just doesn't find the finish, he loses fights. I don't know how he does it. He just throws up Hail Marys half the time, and he somehow gets them. All right, now we got Johnny Walker. I feel like you could put the whole light heavyweight like rankings or just the whole light heavyweight division on this list. They're weird as shit. But he had some fights that he looked decent. Like, he knocked out Khalil Roundtree pretty fast. That's a great win. He went out there, KO'd Paul Craig first round, submitted Kutilaba. He got a decision against Anthony Smith where he's just landing leg kicks on the outside. He had fights. Thiago Santos beat him on a boring decision. Corey Anderson, who's a wrestler, was able to knock him out in the first round. He's the first one to derail the hype train. He had the Ankalaev fight. He got KO'd badly against him. Jamal Hill knocked him out bad. That was a weird knockout. And also, he was versing Ryan Spann. He dropped him 2 times, and then he was somehow able to get some elbows in the clinch and knocked him out. He'll throw some cool stuff, but he just needs to kind of land like a weird shot. Like, he is just athletic as shit. Probably the most athletic person in the UFC. If he doesn't land something weird, and then he probably just gets outskilled and like KO'd. Next up, we got Josh Emmett. Josh Emmett, he's just willing to fight and got insane power, but he doesn't really look good on the feet, even though he could find a way. Like the Calvin Kidder fight, that whole fight was on the feet. He was able to get a split decision. Most people disagree with it. I do too. It could have went his way, but it was a weird fight. Like, he would throw some bombs. He landed some good shots. Calvin Kidder was piecing him up with a jab basically the whole fight, but he was still able to get a fight like that where he just doesn't even look that great on the feet, but he could still find a way to make it close. But then he have some fights. He had a brutal KO against Michael Johnson, brutal KO against Ricardo Lamos. He also might have had one of the most brutal KOs ever against Bryce Mitchell. That was horrible. But then he would verse like someone more skilled on the feet where you will notice the difference. Yair Rodriguez beating the crap out of him with kicks. Ended up getting on the ground. He put his head into a triangle choke. That made him tap out. And then his next fight, he went against Ilia Topuria on the come up. He got 50-42, 50-43, like all the judges. That's like all the scorecards. There was 10-8s in 2 to 3 different rounds for different judges. One judge gave him the first round. That was okay. That was a close round. But not a lot of people get 10-8'd on the feet. It doesn't happen a lot. Now we got Marvin Vettori. Marvin Vettori, I don't even know how he made it to the top. I mean, he got like some of the right matchups. He's decent on the feet, but he's not really special on the feet at all. Jared Cannonier, he was taking him down and beating the crap out of him on the feet. That was a brutal fight. So he's always kind of been looked at as a wrestler, but he's not really even a wrestler. He's not too great on the ground. He has some decent striking. He looks like he would have a lot of power, but he doesn't have power. He just has an insane chin. Maybe the best chin in the UFC. He's able to just walk through shots and then somehow find a way to win. Like that Paulo Costa fight, he was somehow able to win that. I don't know how he was able to win it. He versed Kevin Holland. That kind of helped him to get to the top, but he was just grappling Kevin Holland, who's now at 170. He was too small for him. And then he beat Jack Hermanson. That was a good win. Dropped him in the first, almost got him out there in the first round, and then he ended up winning by a decision there. He got outskilled by Izzy. He was getting beat the crap out of Whitaker. I think he actually might have got the first round on Whitaker, though, so that's good on him. But then he got badly beat up by Jared Cannonier. He somehow makes it to the top of the division. I swear he doesn't show much stuff that like makes him look like a top-level fighter, but he somehow beat Paulo Costa. He even somehow beat Jack Hermanson. I don't know how he does it. Now we got Michael Johnson. I had to save him for last. Michael Johnson, he's 23-19, but let's just, bro, if you look at his wins, he got a win over Tony Ferguson, KO Dustin Poirier in the first round. He beat Gleison Tibau, Edson Barbosa, Joe Lawson. Some of his losses aren't bad, though. Like, he lost against Gaethje, lost against Khabib, he lost against Beneil Dariush, lost against Nate Diaz. But he lost to Darren Elkins, who, again, wasn't even that bad. A lot of these fighters, though, didn't, like, at the time, they didn't seem like they were supposed to beat him, and then he was somehow losing. He got KO badly against Josh Emmett, and also Diego Ferreira, who KO'd him the exact same way that Josh Emmett did. Diego Ferreira, he was out for like 2.5 years, came back, KO'd Michael Johnson brutally. He went on a 4-loss streak. Josh Emmett, Steve Ray, Thiago Moises. He also lost to Clay Guida in a 2021 fight. Some fights after that, he had a split decision loss against Jamie Malarkey. But looking back at it, he did have a lot of losses against good people, but like a lot of them he was supposed to beat. Like Justin Gaethje, that was his debut fight. He was supposed to beat Clay Guida. He was supposed to beat Josh Emmett. He was supposed to beat Darren Elkins. He was supposed to beat Nate Diaz. He was supposed to beat Beneil Dariush, but he's 23-19, but sometimes he looks insane. Like, he got insanely fast hands, and he got some power, but then he finds a way to lose fights. But anyways, that's it for this video. This is 10 different fighters of the worst, best fighters in the UFC. I ain't gonna lie, I almost forgot about Michael Johnson. I put him in here last second because I almost forgot about him. It wasn't even supposed to be 10. It was just supposed to be some of the best, worst fighters in the UFC, but we got Michael Johnson in there, so. But 10 works better for the title, so I'm not mad at it. I'm out.